Returning from hiatus, it's League to the Max, or whatever. As usual, I am your host, the one, the only, the Andesian, Brian Espinoza. And joined with me, as always, the one, the only, the DSDO of the network, my wonderful executive producer, Mr. Eric Squid Sportshead Watkins. Good evening, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. It actually feels weird being a disembodied voice again. I don't
I
get to
know
do that too often.
we definitely went on a good bit of a break there, unfortunately.
Well,
Life gets in the way.
well, yes, but I'm just going to say, and we mentioned this a little bit beforehand, I'm going to have to enjoy my disembodiment on this show for as long as I can. It might be coming to an end in the next month and a half.
Oh,
Friend, another attempted disembodied voice hooked me up with a particular tutoring student. As part of the latest tutoring session, said student and I had a little bit of a deal. So I might be wearing some special attire specifically for League to the Max or whatever.
oh no.
Yeah. Stay
Did you
tuned
lose a
for.
bet? Because this sounds like you lost a bet.
I didn't lose a bet. I actually got myself some particular merch on top of my standard fee for the session.
So you have league merch now, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I'll explain more of the particulars, and then once the shirt arrives, yeah, you'll get to see it.
This will be interesting, to say the least. Anyways, where are we? Yes, we're live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Oh, wait a minute, there's no YouTube. Thanks, Mark.
First, oh, well, I mean, we were never really live on YouTube a whole bunch to begin with. We'll have to worry about that in July. And apparently now Twitch is having issues.
Oh no. I'm gonna. Can I blame it on Radulich? Because I feel like this is a blame it on Radulich sort of thing.
I don't know because 1 minute it's working, 1 minute it's not. I'm going to do some investigating.
That sounds like a good idea, because we're sitting here talking about being live on YouTube, and normally we do our specials, like the international events live on YouTube.
Yes.
And we have MSI coming up,
Yes.
which is going to be on May 10th through May 29th.
I take that back. You can blame Radulich.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Is Radulich responsible for Twitch as well?
Yes.
Did we
Yes.
get banned off Twitch?
No, he's currently live on Twitch.
What the hell? We have a schedule. Oh, okay. All right. I may have accidentally not put League to the Max back on the schedule, so that's partly my fault. I'll take some ownership on that one. Okay, so we're only live on Facebook and Twitter.
Yes.
Why don't you tell the people? You know what? Why don't you do this plug? Because that's your job, anyways.
Oh, now it's my job. Well,
It's always been your job.
to the fine folks who happen to be watching us on Facebook, facebook.com/W2M Network and twitter.com/W2M Network, we always thank you very much. And for whenever we can, when Radulich is not doing something, which is going to be odd because I'm pretty sure this is either specifically wrestling with him or another episode of the Indie-Siders. I can't quite tell. But that is available on twitch.tv/W2Mnet. However, if you prefer.
It's actually TV party tonight.
Okay, but I saw with the title and everything in the Indysiders with Mark Radulich and Harry Broadhurst, who is never
Well,
usually seen on these podcasts, but will be seen on others with us. Yes, that is under the TV Party Tonight umbrella.
I was going to say, according to the internal network schedule, it's either the last of WrestleMania or it's TV Party Tonight.
Yes, it's TV Party Tonight. And again, the Indysiders is part of the TV Party Tonight umbrella. I got clarification on this myself.
Shout out to the wonderful fine folks at Radulich and Broadcasting, a part of the W2M network here, who create lots and lots of wonderful content for us and occasionally get us banned off of YouTube.
Well, I mean, at least at this point, all we can do is just not live stream, which is his own issues. But for those of you who don't have to worry about live streams and who take their podcast orally anyways, we're on a plethora of different podcast streaming platforms. I'll explain more of them at the end of the show.
As my command hook falls off my desk. The adhesive on these things is just crap, man.
Did you just say adhesive?
Yes. Adhesive.
That's not what that sounded like.
You need to get your head out of the gutter. This is the one like semi-family show, okay?
It's not even my head was in the gutter. It sounded like you didn't pronounce the H. Sweet Jeebus. Besides, after everything we talked about on Point of Viewer on Sunday.
You mean last night?
Yes, that, which in the archives.
Which does not feel like last night, by the way.
Well, obviously, no, all things considered, but that will be up in the archives by tomorrow morning.
Fuck it. Fix it later.
But yes, I'm fine now, for the most part.
Excellent, because I'm not.
Okay, well.
Now I am.
Well, that's good. You can go back and we can get into the show properly while I eat my strawberry cream pie. What? You're the one staring and looking into the camera. I'm just enjoying the strawberry and cream pie from McDonald's. I got 2 of them.
You're having a what?
I am eating a strawberry cream pie.
You got to admit that was well comedically done, though.
Yes, it was.
Which, since you're eating a strawberry pie, I have a key lime pie already in progress.
Yes, because eating on air is a W2M network exclusive.
But I'm going to have dinner first. Yeah, so we got a lot to talk about that happened in the 3 weeks that we were gone. We mentioned MSI a few moments ago. We're gonna go ahead. Yeah, I want to go ahead and talk about that. Get that out of the way. Because MSI. The information has finally been confirmed by Riot. They have confirmed that MSI will be held in South Korea, which we did briefly speak on earlier. There was rumors it was going to be in South Korea. Now it's confirmed it's in South Korea. It's the country's first time hosting an MSI, actually. And this will be the first international event in South Korea since 2018. There were rumors about a potential cancellation because of COVID. But Riot has not only confirmed that it's happening. They have also confirmed that this will be the first international event with a live audience since Worlds 2019.
Ooh.
And the venue that has been selected is Bexco, which stands for Busan's Exhibition and Convention Center in Busan, South Korea. The format will remain the same as it has in previous years. There's going to be a group stage, a rumble stage, and a knockout stage. And unfortunately, we have learned recently, due to the ongoing state of affairs in the world, which, if you can't read between the lines on that one, the war in Ukraine, the LCL will not be participating in the event. Riot can't catch a break, unfortunately. They've been trying their damnedest to have a international event and, have league back to normal and everybody is there, and no. COVID restrictions finally get lifted and Vietnam can participate again, and now it's Turkey. Well, actually, the LCL isn't just Turkey, but the LCL is the League of Common Independent States, or the Commonwealth of Independent States, which is that particular region of the world, which does include Ukraine.
Basically, all the countries that used to be the Soviet Union, because it was the Commonwealth of Independent States after the Soviet Union officially broke up in the early to mid 90s. Since then, that specific region, as further countries gained independence, you had a more not nationalist in the sense that we know today, but more national pride as far as identity with the individual countries, especially with the post-breakup of Yugoslavia. But I'll explain more in depth on that on another show.
You definitely know your world geography.
I try. I watch a lot of international news. France,
I was going to say,
Germany,
you are
Middle
definitely a learned man of the world just from sports alone. But basically, as far as tournament implications goes, this means that one of the four groups will just have one less team. They're not going to try to completely restructure the tournament because of this. Thank fuck for that. The first phase of the tournament is going to be held from May 10th to the 15th. Top four teams from the 27th through 29th will qualify for the playoffs, which is a best of 5 format. A statement from the Busan mayor said that Busan is the mecca of esports and that it has hosted some of the most important esports tournaments in the world. The city of Busan has joined forces with the gaming industry to create export professionals as well as a dedicated arena, the BRINA, Busan Esports Arena. Take the time to visit Busan City during MSI 2022 as we look forward to welcoming you in person.
I can see how they could go ahead and balance the tournament, because as it stands, the group stage is a double round robin within the group. So you're going to have 12 matches per group, and each team will play 6. However, with a triangular group instead of a quadrangular, you could still have the 12 matches and just have it as more of a round robin.
I mean,
it'll take some unique scheduling, but it could work.
I could see that. But they're not going to mess with this format too much. Again, MSI, there's some world seeding implications, if I remember correctly, but MSI is not as prestigious as a tournament as Worlds is, even though we only have 2 international tournaments a year.
I get that, like I said,
which makes me question the logic of You only get 2 chances internationally to play people a year. Why don't you treat them both equally and seriously?
Exactly, and that's why I say Riot could curry a little bit more goodwill towards the community at large if they do attempt that balancing that I suggested. And Riot, if you decide to do that, you're welcome.
You can direct all inquiries of possible employment offers to @the_Andesian on Twitter. We may not be able to be bought, but we damn sure can be rented if you pay us enough money.
Damn straight.
And that does include employment. I would love to work for Riot Games. Are you kidding me? It's like a dream job, especially if I could work in the esports division. Imagine me, an on-air talent or a producer or something like that for esports. Hell, I'll take being a voiceover announcer, right? I mean, they could use a continuity announcer.
That could.
But yeah, that's the details on MSI. Of course, us here at League to the Max or whatever, we'll endeavor to bring you as much coverage as we possibly can about all things MSI as it happens. Again, follow me on Twitter at the Andesian. That's your that'll be your best source for live breaking up to the minute news on MSI and standings. Speaking of standings, we had some interesting standings happen at the end of spring split in most regions. In North America, the LCS, it should be no surprise to anybody that Team Liquid finished in first place with an overall record of 14-4. Cloud9 came in at 13-5. 100 Thieves, showing off that they are not just a hoodie org, came in third at 12-6. And Evil Geniuses, are 10-9. And that's your top 4. Notably, TSM did try to wager some sort of miracle comeback spree. And they ended up finishing in 9th place. I don't know what the head-to-head determination was to separate them from dead last. But they did tie with Immortals Progressive with 5-13.
Please hold. I can see. Shabadoo. Okay, the tiebreaker was head-to-head.
And I believe they beat Immortals, which was one of their very few wins. So that makes sense.
Yep, they beat them twice. So that's why they got the head-to-head. And technically, with Evil Geniuses, they were 9-9, having to go through a three-way fourth place tiebreaker playoff.
Yeah, again, things got interesting in the LCS. We're in the middle of playoffs right now. I'll be getting to that in a few moments here. Of course, now I find the fucking article that I was looking for with the information about the LCL. Yes, they Riot Rush's official esports account announced that they are canceling the remainder of the spring split. And because they canceled the remainder of the spring split, they could not in good faith pick a team to send to MSI because of how few games they had in the region.
I mean, all things considered, I can definitely see that. I can see that.
It is kind of unfortunate because the LCL has been making like extra efforts. They did actually start an English language broadcast of the LCL. It was done in conjunction with the Unicorns of Love, which is a well-known Russian team that's seen a lot on an international stage, and a website called gig.me. I know you want to make a joke there to replace some letters and some play. Yeah.
Not even a joke to replace anything. I mean, you could work with it as it is.
Semi-family show, question mark?
That's why I'm not saying anything.
And this is why I say semi-family show. But yeah, no LCL at MSI. Very tragic. Our hearts do go out to the people of Ukraine as they continue to deal with that situation. Speaking of that, and this will be the last we kind of touch on this topic. Riot is donating $5.4 million to humanitarian efforts in Ukraine and Eastern Europe. And this was directly related to in-game fundraising efforts and skin sales across all Riot titles.
Aww.
So thanks to the wonderful humanitarian efforts and support from players like you. Yes, I just intentionally sounded like PBS for a moment there.
At least you own it. At least you own it.
Yes, thanks to the support of players like you, we were able to raise $5.4 million to continue to keep this air wave on the air. I mean, to send to the wonderful folks.
Did you just
Look, my broadcast experience actually is from a PBS based television station.
Again, not surprised.
But yes, $5.4 million will be going to equally to the International Medical Corps, Doctors Without Borders, and the International Committee of the Red Cross. So, yeah. With that said, going back to the standings here, we'll be getting to playoffs in a moment. We had some very interesting developments in Korea.
Woo, boy, hell did we ever.
Yeah, so T1 defeated Gen G 3-1 in the 2022 LCK Spring Split Grand Finals today. And that was not today. That was actually a couple of days ago. Today just sounded cooler. So playoffs in Korea are done. T1 won it. And they are the first team confirmed for MSI internationally. But in more important news, T1 is on like record-setting form as they have finally pulled it off. They have had the perfect split. 18-0 in the regular season.
And keep in mind, not just the fact that they were 18-0 in the regular season. Doing quick math, because you love to have your math done for you.
I mean, this is 100% true.
As demonstrated on the most recent episode of Point of View as well. If you take a look at their individual games, regular season and playoffs, they are 42-8. They're winning games at an 84% clip. I'm sorry, that's damn impressive for an entire split.
That's damn impressive for anybody, anywhere, period. Like you don't get those kind of numbers.
No.
And I'm telling you, you put T1 up against any team internationally right now, and you turn MSI into a world situation, 100% T1 is going to walk out the door with the MSI win. I don't see anybody that can challenge them. I know MSI gets really freaking weird at times because it's international and people start to pull out like cheese tactics and weird strategies that they wouldn't think to use at home. But I think T1 can answer them and beat them.
And especially the fact that both the group stage and the Rumbles are a best of one.
Exactly. So this is where you're going to see cheese. You're going to see a lot of cheese. Because in those best of one situations, everybody's going to be like, okay, well, we can cheese out with this comp and we can win, and that's how we advance. And they don't worry about the seriousness until you get to the best of threes and the best of fives. But I think T1 I think T1's got some tricks up their own sleeve.
Exactly. We don't discuss the T1 cheese now, do we?
No.
It's existent.
But yeah, no, this team cannot be stopped. And this is definitely the most dominant LCK split ever. If I remember correctly, nobody has ever pulled the 18-0 because I know we talked about this before, but I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, nobody's pulled the 18-0 in LCK history before.
I know you had mentioned teams that gotten close. Like the closest was 2015.
That sounds about right.
I'm going to double check something.
Yeah, 12-2 in 2015 by the GE Tigers.
And then you had SK Telecom T1 17-1 in summer split with that damn step ladder. I always hate step ladders.
I mean, yeah, these things happen. But yeah, no, they finally did it. It's finally happened. It is a perfect split. This is a team that is literally firing on every cylinder absolutely perfectly with dead center timing. Like, you can't throw this team off if you tried. Just straight up. You cannot throw this team off if you tried. I don't know what to say here other than the fact that, yeah, this is a top tier team, top tier players. The changes they made in the off season clearly working. I don't know what else to say there.
Everybody else, just watch out.
Sit back and take notes.
I see what you did there.
Like, straight up, sit back and take notes, because that's all that can be done here right now. So that's what's happening internationally, at least of note. Speaking of T1, though, they had a great finish to the spring split, but horrible news coming out of the organization from yesterday, actually. Faker, Zeus owner, and Kyria all tested positive for COVID-19.
Oh,
And one of the coaches, Moment, also tested positive as well.
well, damn.
The players will be stuck in quarantine until April 9th because of government guidelines. Fortunately, they get about a month of rest for MSI. So they should be well and over it by then. LCK just COVID ran rampant in Korea this split. I mean, Fredit Breon had to actually forfeit a match against Gen G in week 9 because they could not field a team. They had no substitutes, no nothing available. They actually had to full on surrender because of that. You know, that's what the rules state. In regular circumstances, they could have rescheduled, but because playoffs were so soon, they didn't. According to LCK rules, you can't reschedule a match if it can't be resumed the Thursday before playoffs. And that's because they don't want any team to have to play back-to-back matches or double headers.
Yep.
And they couldn't move the playoffs because of the Asian games and international competition schedules. So they had absolutely zero chance or a zero opportunity to avoid the surrender in this case. Which almost cost them. They still managed to make it into the Ross, or they still managed to make it into the playoffs because LCK, its top 6 teams go to the playoffs. They actually did take down Damwon Kia. They seem to be the kryptonite for Damwon Kia. Other than, you know, T1, of course. But yeah, no, that's like I said, it's COVID running wild, not in a good way. So our thoughts with the T1 team, you know, hopefully everybody feels better soon. No lasting impact or anything like that. Get some rest, drink some soup, eat some soup, feel better.
Of course, naturally. Best wishes on a speedy recovery.
Now speaking of COVID, we're you know segueing a little bit here. The LCK did actually change some rules shortly before this announcement. Because of Fredit Breon is what I'm believing. LCK changed the guidelines surrounding participation, including players who've tested positive for COVID-19. Players were allowed to request to play the playoffs remotely if they had tested positive for COVID-19, rather than having to be replaced by substitutes. But upon request, the teams can still put their substitutes in. So if the player says that they're feeling good enough to play like one game in a best of 3, they can they'll let them play the one game remotely. But yeah, because of the large cases of COVID amongst LCK teams, the LCK started talking with teams at the end of February to figure out how to make this possible but still fair from all the teams involved. LCK Finals also, speaking of COVID, one of the very first to have a live audience for finals. It seems pretty much everybody is having a live audience for their for the spring finals. LCK Spring Finals were hosted at the historic Kintex, which seats a total of 7,000 spectators. But yeah, that was something that we saw for spring playoffs. We'll see if that policy remains in place going into summer. And we may possibly see if Riot adopts something similar for MSI and or Worlds. I could see them doing it. I mean, 2020 Worlds was entirely remote and virtual, so 2021 was just the players they were on stage, but I mean 2020 fully virtual. I don't see why they can't do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So so that's COVID news in the league. We're kind of all over the place because there's a lot to go through, right?
It's a hodgepodge for this week.
Like I said, speaking of spring finals in front of live audiences, the LEC again. LEC also confirmed that they are going to have a live audience. They're opening their doors for a limited number of fans. We don't know what that number limit is, but they did say that they are going to open up limitations. COVID restrictions in Germany have significantly been eased in the past few months. But Riot is going to limit the number of attendees and fans and they will be required to adhere to regulations in the venue. Masks will be required. Their finals weekend just wrapped, actually. And Rogue won the season or the split in Europe. They beat Fnatic 3-2. Fanatics, despite what we said, over the offseason, they seem to be garnering some success, re-rallying the team behind upset, which again, that was a fucked up situation, but if it's working for them, that's great. I still can't in good faith support Fnatic until they, give full transparency as to what the hell happened.
Yeah, and I really still don't see that coming.
Yeah, no, me neither. Me neither. But yeah, Rogue will be moving to MSI. So that'll be the European representative. And speaking of the LEC, we do have more COVID news, unfortunately. If you hadn't noticed on broadcast, Daniel Dracos tested positive for COVID back on March 21st. So he missed broadcast for a week, which was right when they started playoffs on the 25th. So that is again unfortunate. A few weeks back, right before we went on hiatus, Cadril also got COVID-19. It's surging very heavily in League right now.
Yeah, well, I mean,
like I'm not, and I don't understand. It's weird because I don't understand why. It seems like globally, COVID is like either remaining steady or trending downward. But
I'm going to have to put an asterisk about that, because in a lot of these different hotspots, not just throughout Western Europe, but throughout Southeast Asia and what some would know as the Pacific Rim in general, especially in places like South Korea, COVID has actually gone up on a spike. It could be because of the new subvariants of Omicron. There's been a lot of reports about that, just like you have a lot of reports about spikes here in certain parts of the country, here in the United States, like the Northeast, for example, as it's been detected in wastewater systems. So this is just further evidence that we're not out of the news yet. Didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm like, I can explain. But yeah, so I have a feeling that not only are we not going to be out of the woods for this, at least through the end of this year, going through MSI Summer Split and Worlds, especially with the different restrictions, mandates, and now calls for an additional booster shot from the likes of Moderna and quite down the road Pfizer, we're probably going to be dealing with this maybe into next season as well.
Ugh. I mean, it must be some sort of like mutated variant of the virus or something, because all of these teams have been super careful.
Yeah,
and we really haven't seen major outbreaks of the virus in professional League of Legends scene until now.
Well, that's because, again, and you hit it right on the head, the mutation. With the three newly discovered subvariants of the Omicron variant, the second one, which those of you who choose to follow the news, I am discussing BA2, that is the subvariant that has caused these outbreaks, as it has become the dominant strain because of its extra high level of transmissibility because of the different changes of spike proteins and the like. I keep referring back to the original ports in Iceland, to where there were, upon initial discovery, 40 different variants. We're not done, as unfortunate as that is. Again, I study these things.
I know you do, and I know why you do, because of certain situations.
Yep.
Damn it.
Speaking of situations,
I'm going to need you to stall for a minute.
But yes, so hopefully this is just, I'm not even going to say a blip, but with this uptick, now that you have with this level of transmissibility, there's probably going to be further tweaks, and it should be of a less effect going into Summer Split after MSI. But if I'm Riot, I begin to have some sort of contingency plans for Worlds in a few months' time.
Oh, no, I agree. Contingency plan does need to be there. If viral infection rates in the LEC and the LCK are any indication of what we could possibly see continuing throughout the rest of throughout the remainder of 2022, yeah, a plan needs to be developed, even if it's like, the absolute worst case scenario, doomsday type plan. Somebody at Riot's got to start thinking of one for sure. And I would almost be willing to say it would be irresponsible of them not to. But that is our news for Europe, as I'm continuing to look through here to make sure that I didn't miss any. Oh, no, sorry. That isn't all of our news for Europe. We do have one last bit of news for Europe. Caps, in his series during Misfits a couple weeks back, has officially, and by a couple weeks back, I mean like yesterday, officially has hit his 1500th kill. I promise I can talk. His 15
to try some dental adhesives.
His 1500th kill and his 2000th assist of his LEC career. During his match against Misfits, Caps collected 13 kills and 23 assists to hit the mark when G2 rocked their opponents in the most lopsided series victory of the LEC playoffs so far. Which, I mean, he's not wrong. That was a very lopsided game. So congratulations to Caps. That's
always good to hit those big milestones like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like hitting 100 first-class centuries in cricket.
For those of you who are video listeners right now, or video watchers and audio listeners, you're lucky you cannot see the look of bewildered amazement on my face. For someone who didn't even, wow, I'm stunned. I'm impressed.
Does the disembodied voice need to embody himself for a moment so we can see this look of shock and awe and bewilderment?
Oh, well, I mean, it's going to be a bit dark because of the current state of my room, but that please hold. I just have to adjust a couple settings here. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, technical some bitch. I was expecting you to do that.
You're the one who set me up for it.
That, however, will wrap up all of our news in Europe. Moving on elsewhere. We have news from China, from the LPL. And then we will talk about Asian news in general. Because I did mention this thing called the Asian Games a little while ago.
Yes.
But news from the LPL. Do you want the shocking news or the why am I not surprised news?
Give me the why am I not surprised news, because I need to recover from my last shock you just gave.
The why am I not surprised news. Billy Gaming has revealed, yes, that is their name, has revealed through social media that like infamous, legendary, famous AD carry Jian Uzi Zihao will be taking a break from pro play due to synergy issues within the League of Legends team.
Okay.
Uzi is like a legendary great. He's on the likes of like Faker double lift level. He made a resounding return to professional play at the start of the spring season. He had been gone for a while. He left in 2020 due to health concerns. At the end of the spring split, he streamed for a while. He even started a Wild Rift esports team, which is basically League of Legends Mobile.
Okay.
But the organization announced on March 24th that he is going to be taking another break from professional play due to synergistic issues. They discussed the decision with Uzi. Both parties came to a mutual agreement. A timeline for the break has not been stated. But it does mean that they are likely to use Doggo in the LPL spring split, which I believe is currently underway. And it appears that Billy Gaming got eliminated by Top Esports. But yeah, they had some synergy issues throughout the split. They had a strong start to the season, but teams caught up to the super team's natural mechanical ability and basically draft diff. So again, kind of a why am I not surprised? Split didn't go his way. He's kind of, I think maybe he's realizing I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. And I'm sure there's probably at least one listener out there that got that reference.
I would hope so.
Did you get that reference? Because I don't think you did.
No, I did not. So that's why I'm just. It sounds very lyrical.
It is.
Thought so.
Are you familiar with Toby Keith?
Yes, unfortunately.
He has a song called "As Good as I Once Was," and in the chorus, it's "I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was."
Gotcha. Okay.
And I think that's kind of what happened. What's happening here with Uzi, right? He realizes that I think he's realizing he's not at the same level of legendary performance that he used to be at, and that he can bring it out once, like on a one-off situation, but not. I don't think he can sustain it for an entire split.
Right.
So we'll have to see what happens with Uzi moving forward. However, for the shocker news, reigning champions Edward Gaming fell in round 2 of the LPL Spring Split playoffs today, which was not today, but I'm kind of reading an article here, so which was actually a couple days ago. It was last weekend, not this past weekend, but the one before that. They fell in round 2 of the LPL Spring Split playoffs to Weibo Gaming in a 3-1 series.
And keep in mind, the defending champs, and it was a crazily tight league. They were 10-6, which was the 7 seed.
Yeah, EDG just overall this entire split really have not been performing like they performed at Worlds last year. Then again, with all of the chaos that was at Worlds last year, I don't want to I don't want to call it a fluke, but you almost kind of want to begin to question whether or not this was a fluke that they won.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it was it was not pretty. It was long and drawn out. But overall, Weibo Gaming took it. They got eliminated in the third round in a 3-2 with JD Gaming coming out on top there. So JD Gaming is going to be playing top esports, and that'll decide who wins.
No.
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 Am I wrong?
Yes.
I don't know how the LPL structures its tournament. They have 19 fucking teams in their regular league, for crying out loud.
Number one, they have 17 teams.
Okay, I was close. I knew it was high.
They have a single round robin. Remember how I said how I hate step ladders?
It's a step ladder.
7 plays 10 and 8 plays 9 in the first round. The 8-9 winner plays the 5. That winner plays the 4. That winner plays the top seed in the 4th round. On the other half of the bracket, the 7-10, winner plays the 6, winner plays the 3, that winner plays the 2 seed in the 4th round. Now your 4th round winners go on to the semifinals. Your losers drop to the losers bracket. And then you have your semifinal winner and losers bracket. And then you have your finals. So as it stands now, Top Esports will play Victory 5 in the 4th round, whereas JD Gaming will play RNG in the other 4th round series.
Either way, EDG, the reigning world champions, are out. The people that beat them are out too.
Yes. EDG, for their credit, had a better game differential, but not that much, as Weibo Gaming finished on bottom on a 4-way tie at 11-5. By their rules in LPL, it was game differential and then head-to-head. Top Esports and Weibo Gaming both finished at a +7 differential, putting them in the 5 and 6. Weibo got the 6th based on that head-to-head tiebreaker. Again, this is why I hate step ladders.
Yeah, no, I forgot that they were step ladder. LPL is weird. They don't conform to the norm that everybody else has.
Shocker.
I think this is the first. This will be the first MSI or second, maybe second, without the defending champions. Because this knockout definitely causes them to not qualify for MSI.
Nope.
Really up in the air now, international standings, I'm telling you. I think T1 is the dominant team. I thought T1 was the dominant team last year. I think it should have been T1 and C9 in the finals, and I'm kind of sad that we didn't get that. And I say that as a former C9 fanboy now. I still think objectively C9 was definitely one of the stronger teams there at the tournament. Even if they got off to a very, very rocky start. But yeah, no. The Shy just like ran wild all over Edward Gaming. But you mentioned Victory 5.
Mm-hmm.
3 of their players made the All-Pro, the LPL All-Pro team. And their mid laner rookie has been named the MVP of the 2022 LPL Spring Split. The first All-Pro team for the LPL is Victory 5's Rich, JDG's Kanavi, Victory 5's Rookie, Victory 5's Photic, and RNG's Ming.
So basically, you're covered from your top 3 teams. Naturally, the number 1 seed in Victory 5, who finished at 14-2, hits 3 of the 5 players. Somehow that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, the second All-Pro team was Weibo's The Shy, Victory 5's Karsa, RNG's Xiaohu, LNG's Light, BLG's Crisp. And the third All-Pro team was TES's Wayward, LNG's Tarzan, EDG's Scout, EDG's Viper, and JDG's Missing.
So, yeah, all from all of your top 8 teams. So, top half of the league.
And the rookie of the split was Top Esports' Wayward, which is on the third All-Pro team. So, speaking of All-Pro teams, moving on to LCS news, because that's all we had for China, until they finish up their playoff run. The LCS first team All Pro team is C9 Summit, Blabber, and Blabber. Team Liquid's Bjergsen, Hansama, and Support. Just the top two teams.
Yet only two of those, Blabber and Summit, coming away
Blabber.
with player Blabber, with two of them coming away with Player of the Week honors. Summit the only one to win twice.
Yeah, and fun fact, this split is the 11th time in Bjergsen's career that he's been named to an LCS All-Pro team. And Hansama has been named to his fourth consecutive All-Pro team if you include his time in the LEC. And Core JJ, despite the fact that he had the visa issues at the very beginning of the split and only played 11 games, despite missing 3 of the first 4 weeks of the split, was also voted on to the team. He has played 7 splits in the LCS now, and he's been given first team All-Pro honors 6 times. The league's second All-Pro team was FlyQuest mid laners Tukui. I know I'm butchering that, but that's French and it's hard to pronounce.
Tuquil.
C9's 80 carry Berserker. 100 Thieves, top laner Someday and Support, and Liquid's jungler Santorin. The third All-Pro team was mostly Liquid. Top laner Blippo, C9, Fudge, and 100 Thieves is closer and FBI. And then Support. Or sorry. I'm reading this wrong, aren't I?
I have a feeling you are. You want to take a mulligan and try again. Okay. You're staring intently. That's a good sign.
Here we go. Okay, third team All-Pro was Team Liquid's Blippo, 100 Thieves is Closer and FBI, C9's Fudge, and in Evil Genius's Vulcan.
There you go.
Let me guess, you found this information before I did, didn't you?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I did.
You cheeky little fuck.
Never underestimate my cheekiness when it counts. And you and I have had discussions about cheekiness.
Yes, we have. We don't know who is going to get the coaching coach of the split, or I should say coaching staff of the split, or the MVP of the split. They won't announce that. They won't announce the MVP until the end of playoffs, which we're currently in the middle of. And coaching staff of the split will be announced this coming weekend. So, C9 and Team Liquid definitely running away with the All-Pro team nominations, though.
Yeah, which makes the playoffs even that more interesting given what's already transpired.
Speaking of North American playoffs, we're already a week in. The playoff bracket. Let me see if I can do this and we can get this on screen here.
Well, I mean, some of this, which we can already kind of discuss.
Oh yeah, again, some of these have already played, but yeah, you want to go to the other one. Oh, okay, that'll work. Yeah. So Team Liquid and Evil Geniuses will play, or they did play this past weekend, and so did C9 and 100 Thieves. You'll have the loser of match 2 play against Golden Guardians, which we'll get to in a moment. And then the loser of match 1 will play versus FlyQuest. And both of those games happened this weekend. We did get, again, the first week of playoff action here. So Team Liquid beat Evil Geniuses 3-2. And 100 Thieves 3-0'd Cloud9. Yes, you heard me correctly. They 3-0'd Cloud9. The drafting in that game, from what I have seen, excuse me, I'm allergic to bad drafting. No, that's exactly what happened. It came down to just really bad drafting and really bad coaching on the side of Cloud9 there. A lot of fans are kind of saying, hey, if Cloud9 loses the playoffs, this is the LS curse.
No pressure, Golden Guardians. No pressure whatsoever.
So Liquid and 100 Thieves will advance to the upper bracket. They will play each other in 2 weeks' time. Next week, however, again, we have Golden Guardians versus Cloud9 and Evil Geniuses versus FlyQuest.
Cloud9, Golden Guardians Saturday, Evil Geniuses, FlyQuest Sunday.
And I'm kind of tuning in for the Cloud9 game because I'm very interested to see how that plays out.
Hopefully, they'll be able to go on and hunt for some Easter eggs.
Again, Cloud9 loses this, and you can't. There's no way that the narrative isn't, Cloud9 lost the playoffs because they fired LS, the drafting genius. I mean, there's no way that isn't the case, and that isn't the narrative if Cloud9 were to lose. Because we're already seeing that as part of the narrative.
And like they say down under, going so well in the regular season only to bow out in straight sets in the playoffs. That's always what they're going to remember.
Mm-hmm. They had such a great season, even after they fired LS, and then when it came time for actual serious League of Legends to be played, they shit the bed. It almost is worth saying, I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. Because it almost kind of fits the bill.
Does.
So that's there's that. Again, speaking of playoffs, we kind of have to go back and talk about TSM a little bit, right? We did say, pretty good chance TSM ain't going to make it to the playoffs. Lo and behold, they didn't do it. 18 splits in a row, they made it to the playoffs, and it ended. The loss against 100 Thieves is what put them out of contention back on March 25th.
They held on, and they just didn't hold on long enough.
Yeah, they tried. They really tried. Their previous worst performance was spring in 2016. The team finished with an even 500, a 9-9 record, and barely made it in as the 6th seed. And despite a very relatively weak performance, they made up for it in the playoffs, actually, and they were only one game away from winning the split. Thankfully, they undid the rule that they had last year, where spring split records do not carry over into the summer split.
That's a
they undid that rule. Thank goodness. So they will go into the summer split with a clean, fresh slate.
Being able to put a 5-13 behind them.
Yeah. We can't talk about TSM, though, if we don't talk about Peter Zhang, the former TSM coach. Back on March 18th, I believe we have a tweet here that we can get up on screen. Give me just a moment.
Okay, as you go check the tweets.
Email, Twitter, tweeting. Ephemeral, fleeting. It's time to check the tweets and the emails.
See, I set you up perfectly for that one. Now I also have to make sure I've got something right on my end, which I currently don't as of yet, but I will. Okay. What?
So, yeah. We were recently made aware of very serious allegations of conflict of interest and unethical practices against League of Legends coach Peter Zhang. After an initial investigation, we have terminated him effective immediately. We are working with external legal counsel to complete a full investigation.
Somebody own get sued.
Yeah. Interesting tweet, which you can see on your screen there in the replies from the new NALCS commissioner. While this is extremely disappointing and it's easy to kick an org while they're down, last week I met with the TSM folks, Callus Dominic, who's the VP of esports there at TSM, and the VP of operations, Walter. And they are dedicated to turning the team around. Please support the players and staff as best you can in this difficult time. Yeah, this is kind of huge, right?
It's very huge.
So that same Jackie Felling went to a Reddit thread that said that Zhang's departure had nothing to do with match fixing, emphasizing that it was an internal TSM affair. And this is not a matter of competitive integrity involving betting in any capacity. As you remember, we did see a pretty large wave of competitive integrity bans go out for match fixing and match betting very early on in the split, mostly from Asia Pacific teams. In a response on Discord, Peter posted that he will write a post later about the situation, but thanks for the journey and please continue supporting TSM. He did and admits that I did some mistake, quote. And I guess it's bigger enough I got immediate released.
So he's basically saying I done fucked up, Ron?
Yeah. Zhang spent the past 4 years as part of TSM developing talent in both its academy and LCS rosters. Before that, he previously worked with Team Liquid and Echo Fox at the very start of his career in the LCS. It's unclear what the allegations are right now, although I believe we do have a little bit of an update on this in a second here. But it appears that the TSM League team will presumably remain under the leadership of head coach Chowie. So, yeah. TSM in some hot shit at the moment. Peter did end up making a twit longer post, which I will get on the screen here in just a moment, to explain his side of the story. He did that about 6 days later. But it appears he was fired due to alleged financial irregularities.
Whoa!
That reportedly included him asking to borrow money from players on TSM's roster. And these include allegations from former TSM Doublelift, which we'll be getting into in a moment as well, of looking to borrow $70,000 to pay for his grandmother's cancer treatment. On top of that, he was accused of selling former TSM support's Sword Art's $80,000 car for him and keeping the money.
Oh, jeebus.
Zhang apparently turned to asking for players in the organization for money to pay back his debt to Sword Art, which the former support threatened to make public if Zhang didn't pay him back. Zhang apologizes in this twit longer post that you see on screen here, which we'll try to read in a moment. Beyond reportedly asking for money from TSM players to pay for family affairs, Zhang was accused of taking money from prospective players to ensure they would have a spot on TSM's roster. He denies these accusations, saying that he had offered spots on TSM's roster if players allowed Zhang to represent them as their de facto agent. And said that he had no business-related ties to any of the agents for TSM's Mandarin-speaking players that the organization acquired during the last 2 years. He also claims in that same twit longer, which we'll read in a moment, that TSM barred him from being a part of the negotiation processes during the player acquisition-focused portion of the 2021 offseason.
Yeah.
Apparently, at the end of the day, it all comes down to money.
Well, as I always say about following money trails.
Doublelift's statement. He gave his 2 cents on a recent Twitch stream, which there is a VOD of. And he says, quote, he got multiple players on TSM to send him anywhere between 12K and 25K. And then that same day, those players, before that wire transfer went through, those players canceled it and saved their money. Doublelift explained him that he himself was also asked for money by Zhang, which was supposed to cover the coach's grandparents' cancer treatment. He asked me to borrow $70,000. He said his grandma had cancer and she's dying in the hospital. Doublelift said that Zhang told him that he needs to pay the hospital bill, which is $70,000, and he doesn't have the money yet, but he will have the money by the end of the month. Doublelift had also added that after Zhang's initial request, he asked other people if the former TSM coach had contacted him as well. And without naming any names, this guy literally asked everyone for money, and the story was different every single time. Doublelift does not have the full details about the situation. He's heard some worrying rumors. He says, quote, "I've heard some really wild shit about Peter Zhang, like he donates a shit ton of money to girl streamers on Weibo, which is the Chinese version of Twitter. He goes on Chinese streaming sites and finds attractive girl streamers and donates stupid amounts of money," claims Doublelift.
Time and place. Time and place. Have a bunch. Even I don't go that far.
Have a throwaway. First of all.
Well, I mean, obviously.
Second of all, if you're going to do something that dumb, be smart enough to make sure that the money trail doesn't come back to you.
And you don't even.
Not that I'm advocating this shit, but like.
All I'm advocating is, my God, would you be at least reasonable? It's like with gambling. Don't go with that with more than you can afford to lose.
Hashtag bet on Bovada. Please gamble responsibly. 21 means 21, God damn it. Obey all local gambling laws.
Yes,
again, please gamble responsibly.
Emphasis on the responsibly, and if you have a problem, get help. Symptom can only take you but so far in the wrong direction. I swear, it just will never end.
We TSM loses Bjergsen, and we see the luster fall off the coat of paint, and the car is exposed for all of the rust holes that it truly has.
It looks as good as a new Caddy, but it's a damn Ford Pinto in disguise.
It's a brand new Ford Pinto! Years later, they'll still be recalling the Pinto. It's the Ford Pinto, and it can be yours if the price is right. What? You set me up for a Mad TV Price is Right reference. I'm going to take it.
I wasn't expecting it, but very well done. Very well done.
I'm sorry. It's one of my favorite Mad TV skits of all time. Really is. Yeah, I'm reading this twit longer here, and Jesus Christ, man. No wonder TSM's falling to shit. You got a toxic owner. You got a toxic coach running around asking everybody for money. No wonder everybody from all the way up from high-level players, or sorry, from players to high-level, positions in the org are leaving.
I mean, and especially with something like this, I have so many separate series of thoughts. I mean, hell, I don't know. I guess to me, the weirdest thing is, out of all of this, he's not even getting anything out of it with spending all that money. It's just it's unfathomable, even for a guy like me. I really don't understand certain things, and if you want, we can at least delve into the twit longer. Which, Jesus, this is not even a twit longer. This is like Twitter's new feature, the review newsletter magazine thing that you can put out. At least it's well organized and in different sections, though. Gets into his side of the story, then an apology, then he goes into a few paragraphs explaining his feelings, and a TLDR to wrap things up at the end.
I hate to say it, right? I really hate to say it. But between the shit that happened in the off season, between the shit that's going on right now, Riot seriously needs to fucking like pull some sort of like contract rule something out of their ass right now. Walk in and do a full internal audit of TSM. And it can't and it's not going to be Riot. It needs to be Riot needs to hire a completely independent audit agency to do it on Riot's behalf with like people from Riot, like Riot's legal counsel or whatever, who does understand how the game works to assist as needed. Because these are not game issues, these are organizational structure issues.
If this were the NCAA, we're talking pretty much, and we've mentioned this on previous episodes, lack of institutional control.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with how the game is played at this point.
No.
Which is why an independent audit agency would actually be able to do this. With minimal help from somebody neutral in Riot.
Agreed. Completely agreed.
But yeah, no, I'm sorry. I don't hate bash on TSM. I'm not a fan of them. I never really have been. The only time I was a fan of TSM was when they had Doublelift on their team, and that's because I'm a fan of Doublelift, the player, not whatever team he's on. In all honesty. But no, and this is where I think Riot has a chance to establish credibility for themselves, especially for the esport, like the people that run their esports, right? If this were any other major organized competitive sport, and feel free to agree or disagree with me here on this, but if this were any other major competitive sport, 100% the governing body would be stepping in and saying, no, we're sending in our own internal audit investigation. You've had too much major shit and major controversy come up just in this season alone, or this half of the season alone. No, we're auditing you, and if we find something wrong, you're either going to get fined out the ass, or if it's egregious enough, we're just going to strip you of your place within the organization, and you're going to be forced to sell.
I mean, the NBA with Donald Sterling. You had a couple of other owners who were forced to sell. You can look at the National Football League with the ongoing situation with the now Washington Commanders and Dan Snyder, who is now barred from having any day-to-day operations within the team or representing the league. So you have really the right idea. There is some precedent in other organized sports.
I mean, we've said it before. There's precedent in Riot as well.
Yep.
We had the whole Rick Fox thing and Echo Fox.
He's actually hosting a podcast right now.
Like right this very second right now, or just in general?
In general, the companion podcast to the new HBO series Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty.
I heard he got involved with that.
Yeah. I have yet to hear the podcast, but it's a great show.
I'm sad at the fact that he had to step away from esports, or that he decided to step away from esports. But I'm also in the same boat or conviction that if I had received that treatment that I had gotten, yeah, I'd probably walk away from esports for good too.
Yep.
But he was such a great guy, and he was definitely a face that esports needed. And it's like, you know, I'm sad that this happened. I really am sad that this happened. But I mean, Riot has exercised some very broad sweeping authority in the past. I think they got to do it again here. You can't just continue to let this go because it's because a TSM I don't think you can say is as prestigious of an org as they used to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not winning. They don't really truly have any big name talent to them anymore. The as you would say in like anime or movies, the plot armor is gone.
Yep.
The plot armor is 100% gone on this team. So it's kind of baffling that we haven't seen Riot, you know, step in, make a statement saying, okay, we're investigating this, or okay, these are the sanctions we're putting down. I think at the very least, if these allegations even come out to be halfway true, and if what Doublelift is saying publicly will confirm it, I haven't seen Sword Art say anything to confirm or deny this yet. But if this is indeed true, then Peter will definitely no longer work in League of Legends.
Not
There's
at
just
all.
no way.
Nor should he.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to see if Sword Art ends up saying anything. I'm trying to see if I can find Sword Art's Twitter. So many. There's so many personalities out there in Twitter land, and you know, players and stuff that I can't follow everybody. Well, I found his Twitter. The last time he tweeted, however, was October 26th.
Ooh, good little while.
Yeah, he doesn't tweet, apparently. Yeah, he really doesn't tweet. A majority of his tweets are just retweets from the TSM account. Yeah, straight up. This is, yeah, he does not tweet at all. So, I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, this is kind of a recent development. I feel like we'll end up hearing more about this in the quote unquote off season. Either way, if it's true, and there's got to be some sensibility or shred of truth to this, because of the fact that TSM thought there was enough truthfulness to that to be actionable enough to fire him, right? But I'm like, I don't know. If it's true, it's despicable, and I don't like it.
No. And if this is true, you can only imagine other things that could eventually be discovered.
Oh, yeah. No, that's the entire situation is fucked up. Apparently, Peter on the Twit longer says that the part of the article that doesn't make sense to him is where it said that he was acting as a player agent and taking their money while getting them a spot on TSM. Apparently, Zhang claims that he never sabotaged scouting for his personal benefit. Honestly, I don't know if I can buy that given the state of affairs that TSM is in currently. TSM obviously had a bad split. Given the fact that there's allegations that Peter took money in order to guarantee from players to guarantee them a spot on the roster, when you combine that with their performance, definitely looks very sus. He claims that the guys that are on the team, he didn't know if they had agents. He wasn't involved with their negotiations, but
As he explained in the twit longer.
Yeah, that's what I just said. I don't know. Like I said, this definitely feels like a complicated situation. I feel like there is possibly, depending on how this goes, this could end up criminal. Like this very easily could end up criminal, especially the amounts of money that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if what Sword Art, if this whole him selling Sword Art's car and keeping the money thing is true, it's $70,000. That's grand theft.
Yeah, and that's just for one incident. One. Yeah. Between that 70 grand, 80 grand, you're talking at least 2 or 3.
He could be looking at multiple felonies if this gets referred for criminal prosecution or investigation.
Yeah. Oh, Lord, yes. And especially in a place like China where that is no joke.
Oh, no. This would be California.
Oh, God, that's even worse.
Yeah. No, this would be the state of California.
Well, I mean, even for something like this,
it's possible he could face international charges in China as well.
And this is what I'm saying, because I don't know if even if all of these happen in California and all of this, maybe some sort of joint investigation with Interpol. I don't know. I don't necessarily.
Oh no, there's a possibility that this, if it gains enough traction, this could become an Interpol, and like this could go federal and become an Interpol investigation. Like I could see the FBI taking this as an investigation for interstate fraud. Because at this point, I don't think it's like if what we're hearing is true, you're looking not only at grand theft charges, which are felonies, depending on what Sword Art says and how much of that is true, right? If he took the car without Sword Art's consent and sold it,
yep,
you're looking at grand theft auto and grand theft of the money.
Yep.
Which are both felonies.
So
you're probably also looking at an enhancement of grand theft with the intent to defraud, which is even more severe of a penalty, or illegal possession of an instrument with intent to defraud. That's something that they usually use, like, say, for example, if you rent a car and you don't return the car on time and you don't pay to extend the rental.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll, like, instead of it being grand theft, what they arrest you on, you'll get arrested and they'll charge you at something like illegal possession of stolen property with intent to defraud, or illegal acquisition of property with intent to defraud, or something along those lines. Depends on the state. California is pretty strict on fraud and theft laws, though. And on top of the fact, he's dealing with players internationally, like Chinese players. So
Yes.
he could, again, be opening himself to fraud or theft charges, or possibly even coercion charges in China, which that would be problems in and of itself, because you're talking about a country, communist country's, legal system. That's like, that's a complicated matter in and of itself.
I mean, the fact that when you describe a country that can use disappear as a verb, just take that into mind. So not only are you talking dead time in federal prison, deportation, and worse.
Yeah, no, he could be forced to spend time in a U.S. federal prison. And then after that time is done, he's immediately deported to China, where he could face that worse that you just spoke of.
Yep.
Like, yeah, no, the situation doesn't look good for him, and he really better hope and pray that whoever he's in deep on money with doesn't decide to pull the nuclear option and say, well, you know what, F you, I'm going to the cops.
To quote the line in one of my favorite movies of all time, Rogue Trader, get yourself a good lawyer.
Yeah, at this point, that would be my recommendation to him, to get good legal counsel, both here and abroad.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah. Especially if Riot really does come down, which they should, and say, okay, internal audit, and they find out in the audit that Peter Zhang did commit a criminal infraction, and they turn over the results of that audit investigation to either local or federal authorities. Yeah, no, it's not a good situation. Now, I'm not saying that any of this will happen, right? I'm the kind of guy, I look at a situation and, okay, what's the worst possible outcome here so that I can be prepared for it?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that is definitely the worst possible outcome here right now, is he ends up facing criminal charges for this activity. And if he took money from the organization, which I believe in his position it may have been possible for him to do, now you've got embezzlement too. Which, yeah, the feds love a good embezzlement case. Nice, good, high-profile embezzlement case. Let's discredit esports, because esports is not understood or accepted still.
Yeah, so not only could this possibly... I don't want to go back and say, like, this is the nuclear option and, like, everything that happened with the 21 scandal in game shows back in the 50s and 60s. But this could be something maybe akin to that. Esports in the US doesn't die, but it takes a good decade potentially to really come back. Not to mention he's facing, like, himself double digit, maybe longer years in prison under a worst case scenario.
Oh yeah. if it really goes to nuclear worst case option, I definitely do see some sort of bill passing through the House and the Senate, granting protections to esports players. Very similarly to how, regular sports players are allowed to unionize and all that sort of stuff. Like, I definitely see some sort of governmental regulation possibly happening a la the game show scandals.
Gubernatorial.
Yeah, if it isn't national, it's definitely gubernatorial for sure.
Well, no, gubernatorial instead of governmental. That's the proper word.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm in one of these moods today. Okay?
Yeah, I can see that, and I know I'm kind of like feeding into it with some of this what the fuck shit. But yeah, no, I feel bad for the guy, but at the same time, I said it before, I'll say it again. Use some goddamn common fucking sense. Don't be an idiot.
Just what Adonis is the perfect meme for this.
But yeah. And it's funny because Speaka releases a tweet on the same day that the announcement for Peter Zhang came out. I'll let you get it up on screen here. There you go.
Okay. And let me go and reshare. Not the button I wanted to push.
Every day a TSM is a banger.
I mean, not wrong at all. At all.
I mean, give me a moment here.
As I see you coming up with some more goodness.
To quote another popular meme of the day, Kowalski, analysis on that tweet, please.
Bada-boo.
Or Kowalski. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, Kowalski, analysis.
Banger. Yep. Nope. It's again. TSM is in a free fall. Is in an uncontrolled free fall dive right now.
I want to make a joke so bad, but I'm not gonna.
They are not in an uncontrolled free fall dive, landing in between someone's legs.
That wasn't the joke I was gonna make.
Okay, now I'm curious. What the hell is the joke you were gonna make?
They're in an uncontrolled free fall dive, worse than that plane that crashed in China.
Oof.
Now you see why I wasn't gonna make that joke.
Oof.
But oh no!
Look! We saved the two lowbrow point of viewer jokes for the whatever segment of League to the Max or whatever. At least I got you laughing tonight.
Yeah, that's the truth. Oh
Lord! All right, so So we talked about TSM. Let's talk more about TSM. Why don't we? This is where you say, "Oh no."
I mean, I'm already sensing that there's something coming, and I was kind of waiting for you to have a signature Ron Popeil moment right there. So,
No. If you ordered now, not only are we going to include Scandals Are Us, the Peter Zhang story of how he conned TSM out of $70,000. Okay, that was pretty close to a Michael Larson reference.
that was pretty close to a Michael Larson reference.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, Jesus.
Double Lift, his last professional team, not being TSM, thank God, it was Team Liquid. Wants to play in the LCS again.
Well,
Double Lift is coming out of retirement.
I do I seriously feel I want to blame you for this because you talked about this some sort of manifestation.
No, I said it. I did. I said it like way back in the offseason. I said with Bjergsen coming out of retirement, Double Lift will follow suit because Bjergsen is going to beat Double Lift's records and Double Lift won't stand for it. And that is exactly what has happened. And I quote, I do have that urge to compete. As far as do I still think I can. That is a direct quote, so don't blame me for the bad English. I think Bjergsen had the best take possible. When he came back, he told his team, guys, I've been out of it for a year. I'm not going to be that good, but I promise that I can get really good. I just need the time. I really think that is the right mindset during any return.
Which makes sense.
If I said right now I could come back and stomp LCS ADCs easy, I'm fucking delusional. You need a lot of time to go back and develop your skills. So can I still compete? Yeah, but there's an asterisk there.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
The real question is, what team can he play on? Of the top 4 LCS teams, Cloud9 and Liquid boast import AD carries in Berserker and Hansama. Both have been just absolutely unstoppable, right? Standouts in their teams, irreplaceable in their lineups, just flat out. FBI as 100 Thieves is AD carry. He's fantastic. He's equally the key pillar of 100 Thieves. He might be Australian, but he has the added bonus of being a resident player. Mm-hmm. So they don't want to get rid of him, right? Evil Geniuses did have an option to pick up Double Lift if they had wanted to in the offseason. They're keeping the faith with their young rookie-ish ADC Danny, which that decision paid off big time. I mean, look at them. They're in the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. A possible landing spot could be FlyQuest. Johnson is a resident player. He's been doing pretty good. It's unlikely FlyQuest wants to shake up their roster, which really leaves Double Lift kind of, I don't want to say bottom feeding, but they look like his best prospects, right? And Double Lift, we all know, based on previous ways that he has played and has acted, Double Lift won't play for a trash team. Just flat out. And unfortunately, I think that might be his best option to get back into pro play, is to bolster a struggling roster like a TSM or an Immortals or who else was at the bottom of the freaking
Right now, you don't. TSM is just no.
Oh yeah,
say
he
that
won't go
flat out
back to
now.
I mean, yeah, no, we all know he won't go back to TSM. There's no way in hell. I doubt he goes to Immortals. Immortals went from being a top team to just horrible team. In all honesty,
Well, that leaves Dignitas and CLG.
I could see him going to Dignitas. Maybe you know what? In a true return to form, I could actually see him returning to CLG where he originally started his career.
It would be a nice sort of full circle moment. And I mean, they were only 3 games out of the playoffs here in the spring split.
Yeah, no, he yeah, Double Lift and Afro Moo were yeah. That was definitely that was power move. One of the best duos in league history, right? They were together for forever and a day. I could totally see. Well, I mean, Afromoo's not over there at CLG anymore, but I could totally see him in a very ironic twist of fate going back to CLG. I really could.
I mean, like I said, a good full circle moment.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Afro Moo currently over at FlyQuest. So it would be interesting if he joined FlyQuest, right? And they did decide to actually, bench Johnson. And then you get the best bot lane in the West back. Or at least that's what they used to be called. I think it would take a little bit of work, but the two of them played together for like years on end. That's almost muscle memory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about it. That is muscle memory. It may take some time for the muscles to get the memory there, but once they realize, hey man, I'm playing with Afro Moo. I know exactly how this guy plays. I know what to expect out of him. I know what to tell him to when I want to engage, when I want to do, X, Y, Z, A, B. I almost think if FlyQuest has if Double Lift is serious and FlyQuest has the option, like an actual serious option, an opportunity to pick him up in summer off season, do it. Even if he rides as a sub, like, sit down and tell him, hey, look, you even said it yourself. You're not as good as you once. What? God, that's the fucking theme of the show tonight. I ain't as good once as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. Shout out to Toby fucking Keith tonight, apparently. Like, seriously.
And
Tell me I'm not wrong here.
And I'm the one full of surprises.
No, I think, FlyQuest sits him down and says, look, son, you're as good once as you ever was. And it's like you're gonna have to ride bench for a while. We'll warm you back up to it little by little. And if you can outperform Johnson, the spot's yours. That's kind of like a starting quarterback position, right? You're gonna have two quarterbacks that share, snaps, and whoever's the better one past a certain point in the season gets the starting job.
Yeah. Or like in basketball, if you have someone, you put them on minutes restrictions. Or like in baseball, pitch counts, and then you go and you go, and then through the preseason or through a point in the season, you're like, all right, we're going to turn you loose. Like you said about muscle memory, the muscles have atrophied. It takes time to rebuild them. I don't want to go full on Matrix with that one, but yes, it's kind of where I got that from.
Can I just say one thing to that statement?
Yes.
You technical bastard. You technical bastard. Thank you. I was waiting for that, first of all.
I know you were waiting for that. I had to turn my camera back on.
And second of all, no, seriously, you've been like on the point with the technical shit tonight, man.
You're welcome. It's what I do. It's how I operate. I mean, if you know the mood that I've been in, and if you watch this or listen to the latest episode of Point of View, or for this week in particular, when I'm feeling a special certain type of way, I also get very philosophical and very technical, especially if I'm like tonight where I have not indulged in certain things. I'll let you piece together those dots.
Is it bad that my mind is going in two separate but equally distinctive directions, and both of them can fit the bill here?
Well, I mean, if you let me know in the private chat where your head is at, and I'll tell you which one, then you might be right. Both. I will the latter first. Or no, the former more so than the latter.
But, again, two equally but distant, paths, and of course, I'm right on both.
Yes,
like I know you too well.
Well, I mean, look at how long we've known each other.
And this cryptic part of the League to the Max or whatever segment is sponsored by nobody, although we would like to be sponsored by somebody. So please send your sponsorship inquiries to @the_Andesian on Twitter as we approach the 2-hour mark here on League to the Max or whatever, as we catch you up on the last 2.5-3 weeks, give or take, of league action, professional league action across the world, especially here in North America. You are listening or watching or both League to the Max or whatever here live on the W2M network, live on Twitter and Facebook. That's all we got tonight, right?
Correct.
Twitch W2M network and Twitter W2M network and Facebook W2Mnet.com. You can also find us on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Just search for W2M Network.
W2M Network or League to the Max. If you name it, we're most likely on it. And if we're not, definitely let us know. And if you're going to let us know, please do so in the form of sending that and any other hate mail to Mr. Hate Mail himself at s.garmer@gmail.com. Shout out to you once again, Marty Bass.
I set you up, you took the pitch, and you knocked the home run right out of a park.
Well, what can I say? You had one right in my wheelhouse.
Now, is that the hell of a way to set up an hour law or an hour station identification or what?
I mean, this is how, when the two of us are at work, we do these sorts of things. We just start, you give us a primer, we'll work with the rest, and it'll be fucking golden.
But for one, I want to see Double Lift come back to professional play. To go back to what we were talking about, though. But again, as I've said before, I am a Double Lift fan. Double Lift has inspired me to play AD carry. Him and Sneaky are honestly, like, it's him, Sneaky, and Faker, I think, are my top 3 professional players of all time. I don't think Sneaky's ever going to come back. I think he's had the opportunity and he's just done. Which I kind of don't blame him. His departure from Cloud9 was questionable at best and just downright atrocious at worst. I think he's burned out on professional League of Legends, which is entirely understandable. Doublelift, I think, like he said, I think he's still got it in him. He just needs to de-atrophy the muscles, as you put it.
Exactly.
Does Doublelift have the capability to come back to what other fans might call everyone else's trash level of play? Absolutely. Is it going to take time for him to get there? Yes. But the other issue that you have to look at as well is Doublelift needs a good AD carry to pair with, or a good support to pair with.
Mm-hmm.
If you give him a shitty support, then you are going to not get the best performance out of him. We have seen him with bad support. He can only carry so far. Which is why I say you've got to pair him with a good support that he knows how to play with, which leads me back to the whole FlyQuest conversation we had a few moments ago. If FlyQuest gets the opportunity, they should take him.
And it's actually in a convenient place because with FlyQuest, going back to the standings for the spring split, 9-9, with the tiebreaker, they finished 5th. Okay? Then as you go naturally into the playoffs, they haven't started yet, but they're in a decent position in the losers bracket. Are you expecting him to go ahead and lift you from 5th to 1st? No. But could you say from 5th up to 4th? Or maybe even 3rd? Yes, that's very doable. And then look at what you can do from 3rd place in the summer split going into the summer playoffs. And from there, all bets are off for the rest of the season.
I guarantee you right now, I'm going to call it right now, just like I called it back in December when we talked about Doublelift returning. If Doublelift comes back and gets on FlyQuest, right?
Mm-hmm.
FlyQuest will go 3rd in the regular season. They'll go to summer playoffs, and they will qualify, whether it's through direct qualification or play-ins, but 100% Doublelift gets them to Worlds. Guaranteed. Doublelift wants to be back on that world stage. I can feel it. And he will fucking do anything necessary that he has to do to get him there. And he's fully capable of doing it. That's the scary part.
I mean,
and again, you can mark my words like I've said so many other times on this podcast. And not a single one yet has come to bite me back in the ass yet. So
emphasis on yet. Heavy emphasis on the yet. What I mean, Stranger things
have happened in the LCS and in this tournament, even though we're not in a tournament right now.
And especially with the fact that summer operates a little bit differently with, top 8 instead of top 6, that's another thing to look out for. So,
well, the other thing is teams take summer more seriously because it is what qualifies you to Worlds.
Yeah.
So we have a couple last pieces of possibly lighter-hearted news, depending on how you want to put it. But before we get to that, we're talking about players who can possibly return in the summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have some interesting names, thanks to Upcomer, of players who could return in the summer split, both in the LEC and LCS.
Okay.
We have Niski. Niski's been riding the bench for Fnatic for a while now. We could see him come back and play either in Fnatic or elsewhere. He is one of the best performing players. I mean, he went to Worlds with Fnatic after all.
Mm-hmm.
Some teams are apparently already expressing interest in him for summer. And he did hit rank 1 in solo queue earlier this year, and he's still top 10. And if somebody buys him out from Fnatic, he'll shine. Similar to Niski, Jensen faced an unfortunate offseason following his run at Worlds. Obviously, Team Liquid dropped him in favor of Bjergsen, which left Jensen at the wayside, and nobody picked him up, which I still think is the most criminally idiotic move I saw in the offseason. Especially given the lack of impressiveness, I guess you could say, from mid lane as a position throughout all LCS teams this split. Nobody looked like a rock star, especially from a position that is designed for you to look like a rock star. That's not good.
No, it's not.
Not even Bjergsen really looked that great, to be honest with you. Bjergsen didn't stand out on Liquid, and nobody is standing out as a mid laner on any team in the in the LCS right now. With that said, Jensen being a top 3 mid laner in North America definitely, I think, has an opportunity here to get picked up by a team in the summer offseason. He also got his residency status this year as well. So he's no longer an import. He got the core JJ treatment.
Ooh.
He's been here long enough. He's got his green card. He's now considered a resident, so he's not taking up an import slot. If I'm an organization in the LCS right now, especially one of these lower performing ones, I've got my coaches or my scouts or whoever reaching out to Jensen or his agent saying, hey, we know you're a free agent. We know you have no buyout. How much to come play summer with us? And to do it again, but wait, there's more. To pull a Family Feud reference, we'll double the points if he ends up on the same team as Doublelift. The two have played together in the past, if I remember correctly. I could be misremembering here. Actually, no, yeah, they played together in the past because Jensen was still on Liquid when Doublelift was there. And yeah, no, that's an unstoppable duo, I think.
Sounds like it is to me.
Excuse me. Speaking of mid laners, Jizuke from Evil Geniuses got released after playing there for 2 years. The problem is there's better options than Jizuke, right? There's a lot of mid laners needing a team. You got Niski, who could come over to the LCS, could stay in the LEC. You got Jensen, who I think is the number one, like, if we're talking NFL, you want to talk about like number one free agents. This Jensen is definitely the number one free agent in the league right now. Like, hands down. I don't think there's anybody on that level that can compare. Maybe number 2 is Doublelift, especially now that he's announced that he is willing to come back to professional play. I don't think because of Doublelift's rust, if you will, that he is number 1 on contention, right? Or in contention for that number 1 spot. But I could definitely see him as a strong number 2. If Niski were to say that he was willing to, like, outright explicitly say that he was willing to come back to the LCS, then I could see that. I could see him either number 1 or number 2. But yeah, no. By far and wide, Jensen is definitely the number 1 free agent in the LCS right now. Especially the number one free agent at mid lane. Which, again, having seen the games this split, some of these teams really need to consider or reconsider their mid laners. Some teams took some chances and didn't happen. We also have Ignar that was on Evil Geniuses. He also played in the LEC and went to Worlds with Misfits in 2017. He's a free agent. He's up there. There's not very many support players on the market, right? And if a team decides they want to play, they want to get rid of their current support, look for a better option, we could definitely see Ignar coming back to top level competition. Right. Ignar's definitely a good, solid support option. So that's what we got as far as free agents and possible summer split moves. Speaking of player moves, we'll talk about player personnel moves here. We mentioned the Asian Games earlier. And KESPA, the Korean Esports Association, has appointed Koma as the head coach of South Korean's League of Legends team for the 2022 Asian Games in Zhangzhou. Pretty sure I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but I'm like 50% sure I pronounced that right.
I'm going to double check.
Because I'm pretty sure that in Korean, the H is pronounced like a J.
Yes. So you have, Hangzhou, Zhejiang province in China.
Yeah. See, I was close.
You were.
But yes, Koma has been named to lead the country's League of Legends team. He was chosen as the result of a, quote, open recruitment process that started in last January and included an official interview with a dedicated committee of KESPA. Coma and the KESPA committee will select the 6 players that will form the league roster ahead of the tournament. The selection phase begins this month, and the players will likely be revealed before June, since that's when the regional qualifier begins in Zhangzhou.
I was just looking up the schedule for these particular games.
South Koreans teams in the Asian Games will get support from the Korean Institute of Sports Science, which will tailor a dedicated training program focusing on mental and physical strength. And South Korea will be represented in the 2022 Asian Games by 5 teams for 5 different games: League, FIFA 2022, Hearthstone, PUBG Mobile, and Street Fighter 5. The country has decided to not send players to compete in Arena of Valor, Dota 2, and Dream of Three Kingdoms 2. I can't say I've heard of that one. Due to a lack of a stable player base in the country.
Well, you can see why. I didn't know with PUBG Mobile they have a specific version just for the Asian Games.
I'm kind of shocked at that statement applying to Dota 2, however.
No, it's just PUBG Mobile and Arena of Valor.
No. Them saying that Dota 2 does not have a stable player base in Korea.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, even though you have Dota and Dota 2 as more of your predecessors of League of Legends, if you think about it in the Korean esports community, it was really League of Legends that put it on the map, even more so than the likes of your FIFA. So, to me, that in particular isn't a surprise. Why the fuck do you keep setting me up for all kinds of historical references tonight?
Because I play to your strengths and I know what you're good at? Question mark?
Okay, fair, but still.
Meanwhile, Coma is, of course, managing Damwon Kia, who did not do so hot. Who will have so he's done, actually, because they did wrap. As I'm reading the rest of this article here from .esports, because again I'm hellaciously behind on the news. So since he's not going to, if I'm correct, I don't believe Damwon is going to MSI. I know MSI's thing is weird. I'm sure we'll know like all the teams that get qualified in. Because I think Korea gets 2, but I don't believe Damwon Kia didn't come in second. It was Gen G. So yeah, no, Damwon Kia ain't going to MSI.
Yeah, they finished 3rd in the regular season and got knocked out in the semifinals.
Yeah. So he's got through like June, July to, work on this whole Asian Games team. So I wish him the best of luck with that. And I wish South Korea the best of luck in that. Let's go Coma fighting.
Well, I mean, honestly, if you think about it, this is a very unique opportunity because even though esports has been prevalent in both the Asian Games, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, for the Asian Games proper, after being a demonstration sport all this time, this is the first time that these games are going to be medal events. Keep that in mind, especially with strategy going forward. I see that smirk on your fucking face. Okay? I don't like it. I see it.
Because the conversation that's eventually going to have to come up after these games conclude.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm saying about that.
Yep.
So there's that. So we had a few patches while we've been gone. We try to cover some patch notes here. We went AFK just like Riot went AFK for 2 weeks, just not in the same 2-week time span. But in the 12.6 changes for League of Legends, we had some very big changes that were oddly not announced in the patch notes. The Nexus used to sit at 5,500 health, right?
Mm-hmm.
It also regained 10 health per second if left undamaged. In patch 12.6, the Nexus has been nerfed to 3,010 health and no longer regenerates health.
Oh, that's not good. As good.
Now, it seems like major news. It's very possible that this was a mistaken change and unintended, and there will be a hot fix soon, possibly in the next patch, or next couple of patches. So we will have to keep an eye on the patch notes on that one. But it's a huge adjustment that can affect the game, both in solo queue and competitive, because you now have to think about how you're strategizing and drafting even further, because you could just play strong split pushers and continuously threaten to take base objectives and inhibitors because they just don't heal, right? They don't heal and they're easier to split down. So split push sieging comps got a pretty significant shadow buff here. Again, this could be a bug and unintended behavior, and we may see it reverted on the next patch. But for right now, hey, you if you main a split pushing champion, go nuts. In other news, Riot Games announced a couple of weeks ago, actually, right before we went on hiatus. They have announced an equity investment into the animation studio behind League of Legends Netflix inspired anime show Arcane. Which is Fortiche Productions. The Riot now owns a quote significant non-controlling stake in an investment that closed in early 2022. As a result, Brian Wright, the chief content officer at Riot, and Brendan Mulligan, the director of corporate development at Riot, will join Fortiche Productions' board of directors, according to Riot's press release. The various collaborations with Riot Games and especially Arcane have made Fortiche Production a new major player on the international animation scene, said Pascal Chirot, Jerome Colm, and Arnaud Delord, co-founders of Fortiche. Riot Games, by trusting us, have given us the means to achieve our common ambitions and has shown that it is possible to offer new content that can reach a large audience. And this is a production studio that has actually been working with Riot since almost its infancy, since 2013, way well before Arcane was even a thought of going into production. They have credits on the music Warriors Get Jinxed, Warriors, and Rise, amongst others. Excuse me. The animation studio will remain independent in terms of operations and control from Riot, aside from the 2 new board members. So it's not like Riot is buying them and absorbing them into its conglomerate. They're going to let them continue to work independently on not just Riot only stuff. However, a statement from CEO of Riot, Niccolo Laurent, states, Fortiche has been an integral part for a long time, but this agreement ensures that we'll be working closely for decades to come. We hold a high bar for everyone we work with and insist they understand players deeply and focus on them relentlessly. And Fortiche, from day one, has exemplified player experience first. They both announced already that a second season of Arcane is on the way, along with other yet to be announced projects. And Arcane won 9 Annie Awards, which is a part of the International Animated Film Association that gives out awards to recognize excellence in animation shown in cinema and television, and was the #1 global viewership leader on Netflix for the month of November. It was the show that dethroned Squid Games.
Game singular, but I get it.
Did I say game? Whatever.
You said games plural.
You know what I meant.
That's why I corrected you.
So yeah, expect more badass animation out of Riot. Is basically what that equates to, which I'm happy. Arcane was fucking amazing. I am sad that I still have to wait until next year.
You're acting as if I hadn't had to do that before.
Next year, Riot. For more Arcane.
Again, for those of you who watched Mad Men back in the day, especially with the final season that they split in half and aired a year apart, I've been there. Not to mention how many times and how long I've had to wait for fucking Westworld.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to come back. Plain and simple. In more culturally relevant information, even though the fad is now dead, long live the fad. Do you remember Wordle?
Wordle, yes. Not the same since they got bought by the New York Times.
Yeah, no, that's definitely gone downhill. Well, guess what? Somebody in the League of Legends community created Yordle. Yes, that's correct. Yordle, because it's based on Yordles in League of Legends. Which is a word guessing game that requires players to correctly identify a champion name in 6 tries or less. They also added a bonus round with spell names and ability names. But yeah, instead of any old word, players are tasked with guessing a league's champion name, league champion's name, not league's champion name. And unlike Yordle does not limit its word options to 5 letters. Yesterday's Yordle was only 4, while today's challenge is a 5-letter name. So yeah. And we'll have the link to that in the description of the video in case you would like to try it out yourself. In fact, I'm playing today's right now, and I'm going to see if I can get it. And I got it on the second try. I'm not going to spoil it for you. So, yeah. As soon as my wonderful, illustrious producer gets back, as I did hear him in the background, have to step away for a moment to attend to a personal matter. That's all we got this week.
Oh, okay. I came back right and wrap things up.
Yes. As I said before, because I think you had already stepped away, we have the link to the Yordle in the description or in the chat there, so you can put it in the description. I was able to get today's Yordle in 2 tries.
Nice. Not surprised knowing you.
The 4-letter champion name. I got one of the letters on the first guess, and that pretty much led me to the second guess really easy. So,
at least you don't try some of the different math and numerical based ones like I have.
I think this is the first one of these I've ever done. Actually, no, I take that back. I tried Wordle once, and I was like, nope. .avi.
I actually had some decent success at Wordle. I just didn't give enough of a shit to try it every single day. And the link will officially be in the description when this is posted. Now, why do you have that look on your face?
Something came across my desk, so to speak.
I see. See, this is the kind of weird look that you give because it's like, okay, it's intriguing. You can't necessarily share, but it's more of like a what the fuck really kind of a face.
Yeah, kind of, sort of, yeah. I'll explain off air. But anyways, This
Gotcha.
has been League to the Backs or whatever, a presentation of the W2M network, live on Twitch and Twitter. Actually, no, we don't have
Twitter.
Twitch. Facebook and Twitter. Damn you, Mark Ralich. You want to take us home?
Well, for those of you who were somehow brave fortuitous or insert other adjective here to watch us on Facebook at facebook.com/W2M Network or twitter.com/W2M Network, we appreciate you. When we are not intervened by one Mark Radulich, we're live on Twitch at twitch.tv/W2Mnet. And if I'm usually in of a right mood, as I probably will be tonight, especially since I got double duty, these will be uploaded and put into the archives on YouTube, youtube.com/W2M Network. Thankfully, we won't have to worry about certain things this episode, so we're off to a hot start there. However, if you prefer to get your more enhanced slurping sounds when you take your podcast orally, do not fret whatsoever.
Pepsi for podcast.
As you get to enjoy that shameless plug of Diet Cherry Pepsi on Stitcher, Spreaker, Podbean, CastBox, Overcast. You can rate and review us 5 stars on Spotify, Google Pods, Apple Pods, iHeartRadio. You name it, we're practically on it. And if not, send your hate mail to s.garmer@gmail.com. He may not fix it, but we will. Again, it's opening day. I'm like,
oh, it's going. Gets out of here.
Damn it! I don't want to quote any Yankees power hitters when I make this analogy. So as a Rays fan, I'm just gonna stop there. I'll see you all as we'll discuss opening day on the Rogers Watkins Sports Report.
Sports in black and white.
On Thursday when we
Sorry,
return.
I didn't realize you were actually expecting me to say it this time.
Well, again, I set you up. It's the synergy. It's the wavelength.
It is wavelength.
We will be discussing opening day. We may have a stream of consciousness, depending on what games are on. And naturally, we are going to discuss the remainder of the action from the Final Four, where a certain someone Harry Broadhurst and his team. I already got the message. Rock Chalk Jayhawk, they are your national champions. We'll be going over that more in depth as well.
So what you're telling me is Harry Broadhurst will definitely be heard that night.
Yes, heard and seen. It's kind of his thing, as well as for some of my other shows, because needless to say, Lilags isn't the only show that's potentially going to have a very significant news desk.
Oh boy.
Um.
Yeah, we definitely have. I'm glad we're covering. What the hell are we covering tomorrow? Let's Make a Deal. Is it Let's Make a Deal?
No, it's Card
No,
Sharks,
it's Card
which
Sharks.
is actually more relevant, all things considered.
Uh, yeah, that's irony for you. Um, yeah, no, thank God we're covering an easy show to a light show tomorrow. Because yeah, we got a bit of a news desk. We got the list of ABC Summer Fun and Games renewals and cancellations. There's some Wheel of Fortune news that's been making the rounds. There's Jeopardy news.
Hi, Harry. Oh wait, is it the same Jeopardy news that I heard?
I probably, yeah. The same Jeopardy news that's been going around about a big Jeopardy history making moment. If that makes any sense.
I believe so, yes.
So we'll be taking a few moments to talk about that. And then we also have to talk about
Oh, so yeah, we're gonna have twice as much news.
Yeah, apparently we've got a oh god, we got a large news because that's when you posted it in the chat there, that's news to me.
Yeah, so, apparently I just broke some news to the rest.
I'm gonna have to Google that tonight. So I could be caught up on it to cover it tomorrow. I'm glad you told me.
That's what I thought. You're welcome.
No, I was thinking about the thing I posted.
Oh yeah, that's why I was like, oh that. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And then we have me talking about my Price is Right live experience and some more detail than we did on Point of Viewer. Game show podcast, talk about the game show appearance,
Naturally.
So yeah, no, tomorrow is definitely things will be back to normal on Life is Like a Game Show. We will not be incessantly talking out of our ass about the Price is Right for 4 hours and 38 minutes.
We just went through a very long slog of a test match, so we're going to give you a break.
Yeah, the only Price is Right you'll be hearing about is maybe 15 to 20 minutes of me talking about the Price is Right live. And that's it. Actually, no, sorry. We got to cover the Price is Right. We have two things about Price is Right to cover. There's actual Price is Right news ish.
We never said 90 minutes, Harry.
Yeah, I never promised 90 minutes on this podcast.
Oh, dear God. Oh, I am not looking forward to that.
Yeah, there will be soapbox moments tomorrow, folks.
All right, so I'll know to prepare accordingly.
But yeah, that's it. We're done. Join us tomorrow. I'm at the Andesian on Twitter. You can also find me on the network Discord, link in the description. Come hang out and say hi. Again, tomorrow,
And again, we never promised 90 minutes for Lilacs either.
Harry, if you know how much fucking news tomorrow's news desk segment might be an hour. There is that much news that just happened to drop conveniently in the past week. It's almost like the universe is like, okay, you guys are doing the Price is Right show. We're not going to give you any news or anything. So you have to turn a 4.5 hour show into a 5.25 hour show.
Thus breaking the network land speed record. The universe is like, oh no, you're not going to do that. We've seen what happens with that.
So yeah, all of the important pertinent news has broke this week. And we get to talk about all of it tomorrow. Allow me to do my best meme here. Harry Broadhurst will not be seen tonight. We now bring you this W2M Network feature presentation going live to Harry Broadhurst. Anyways, join us tomorrow night. Life is Like a Game show. We have all wonderful other sorts of shows. Like Eric said, he is on the Broadhurst Walk-In Sports Report.
Sports in black and white.
Available Thursday nights on the network. Point of Viewer Sunday nights here on the network. You catch myself, Eric here. This week we should have Harry and Rancid Randy back for a continuation of the brackets, correct?
Correct.
So for those of you who are watching the greatest sports movie of all time bracket, that'll be back this Sunday. And as always, League to the Max is back here on Monday nights, at least for the remainder of playoffs, which should be another week or two here. For the rest of the remaining regions.
Yeah, all of the playoffs will wrap up the week after Easter.
So that's what, 3 weeks from now?
Thereabouts. If we're talking like from today, 2.5 weeks, because we're going up to the 24th.
Okay. So we'll probably take like the first week of May off.
Okay.
To prepare for MSI, since we'll be doing a lot of coverage on MSI. Which, if I remember correctly, MSI starts, it's like the 10th or the 11th, something like that.
I believe the 10th.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll probably take that first week of May off to get ready for MSI coverage. But yes, League to the Max is back. It's playoffs mode here. So we'll be continuing to bring you the latest news on playoffs, player movements, player personnel movements, mysterious fraud and embezzlement scandals, players coming out of retirement, the whole 9 yards. It's a typical week in the league, right? But anyways, for now, for myself, Brian, the Andesian Espinosa, and my wonderful, illustrious, disembodied producer, Dr. Manhattan over there. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow night for Life is Like a Game show here on the W2M Network. Good night.